Okay, all right, so there we go. I sent you the notes early because it is a combination of a lot of what we said since the beginning of the semester regarding presentations and effective communication. And we don't necessarily have to go through that presentation word for word. There are a few things that I want to say. It is focused on using PowerPoint effectively. And so I do want to talk a little bit about that. But the bulk of our class tonight is going to be focused on your video presentations and getting feedback on that. I don't want to rush through them. We had to rush last week. But Denise and who's your partner, Denise? Felicia?
Edrica.
Edrica. Okay, so you're going to get feedback from me. I have not forgotten to send you detailed feedback. I'm going to do that this week. And I also have one assignment left to mark.
Okay.
Which was the updated resumes that you submitted. So you're going to get those back from me this week. It's a little bit overwhelming, I will say. This is the end of the semester, and that's always a challenge. It's always difficult to keep up at this time. So let's get into our discussion. I'm going to share the PowerPoint on screen with you just briefly. Let me pull that up. Okay, and so as we were focused on putting together good or effective presentations that are audience focused, I thought the best way to present this information would be in the form of PowerPoint, which you could review, right, at your leisure. It begins by talking about why we need to have our audience in mind when we put this presentation together, whatever it is. It could be a presentation for training opportunity, or a presentation that you're asked to put together at work because you are at some conference and you're representing your job. We present information for different things, right? And so it talks a little bit about the need for audience, being audience focused or audience centered. And then it gives you some pointers on getting started, having the focus of the presentation in mind, knowing exactly what it is that you intend to do in this presentation and what you expect your audience to glean from watching this presentation. Under other key considerations, things like venue and other practical concerns. We talked about some of this when we were reviewing business reports, putting business reports together. And so I want to skip to the kind of practical things like graphics, how to treat graphics and font and background. And so we're gonna move down to slide, after the three-part introduction, the three-part presentation structure, there's information on preparing the slides or putting the slides together. So after you've done your introduction and you've given preliminary information, how long will this presentation be? What is the scope? What objective do you intend to meet? How should question and answers be handled? You get to the actual presentation and the things that you need to do to make sure that your audience gets the most out of whatever information you are presenting. The first thing is you settle on a medium, right? I chose PowerPoint. There's so many other effective ways to present information. I asked you, for instance, to put together a video presentation for class tonight, and we're going to talk about some of the strategies you use to engage your audience and to meet the objectives of the assignment. If you have settled on using PowerPoint, you want to use some visual aid like a PowerPoint presentation or Google Slides, something along those lines. The things that you need to do to make sure that your audience gets the most out of your information. And so you pay attention to slide design, right? You want your slide to be as simple as possible, and you don't want to clutter the screen or clutter the slides. And this is something that I talk to students about often, because the tendency is when you are delivering a presentation, especially because nervousness might set in, you become really tied to your notes and you clutter the slides with too much information. The font is too small. And so some of your audience members, particularly those in the back of the room, have issues reading the information on the slides, but they're disengaged as well because you're spending too much time reading your notes, the delivery is monotone, and 5 minutes into your presentation, you might find that you've lost your audience. So how do you prevent things like that from happening? As I was putting this PowerPoint together, I looked at the color scheme that I chose. And again, excuse me, I'm not using the most up-to-date version of PowerPoint. And so my choices for design and animation are not the best, right? I will be the first to admit it. But as I was thinking about what might engage the audience, I agonized over this color because there's a fine line between distraction and engagement. If you have too much going on in a presentation, it can be just as bad as or disengaging as not having enough. And so you want to choose muted tones. I settled on this green because it's a bright color, but it's not necessarily a loud color. And you want to achieve a kind of harmony or balance. And the most important thing is you choose the same background and color throughout, right? A note that I always tell students when it comes to using PowerPoint is the presentation itself is a guide. It helps your audience to follow you and stay focused on your presentation, but you should in no way read verbatim what is on your slides. If you were standing there and you were reading verbatim what is on the slides, then one of you is redundant. Either your presentation is redundant or you are redundant. If you were simply regurgitating the information that the audience can read themselves, then we either don't need the PowerPoint or we don't need you, right? So think about that. You use bulleted points, not wordy long constructions. And the purpose of the bulleted point is for you to be able to elaborate on the information, not regurgitate everything that you said. And there are other things to consider, like how many points should you include on a slide? The general rule says 4 to 6, but even beyond that, you want to try to achieve a kind of harmony or balance. So you would not want to have one slide with 6 points and then the next slide with 2, right? That slide with 6 points is going to look cluttered next to a slide that only has 2 points, right? So think about balance and think about what is going to best convey the information to your audience, all right? I was saying before, some challenges that people face in making presentations is using a font size that's too small. Typically, for content that is this information here, right, in the slide, you go for something that's 24 point and above. And you want to use a simple font like Arial or Times New Roman. I'm going to change the font of this just briefly to show you what happens when you use something that is too fancy. It's difficult for the audience to understand. That's what happens if we change this to Algerian. That's a little bit better, but it's not commonly used. Something like this becomes difficult to read as well. Sometimes the tendency is to think that the larger the font, the more readable the content is, or the larger the font and the more capital letters you use, the easier it is for your audience to see. Not necessarily, right? Some larger fonts can be difficult to read. And a PowerPoint presentation that's cluttered with too many capital letters sounds too aggressive. You worry about tone in that case. And so there are some suggestions. Times New Roman is a good one to use. It's clean, it's easy to read, and you get space. You don't clutter the slides with too much information, all right? Same thing goes with font color. You want to choose something engaging, but not distracting. And you want to make sure that there is good contrast between your background, in this case, a white background, and the font color that you chose. Because sometimes, let's say, for instance, I change this to this color. It's green, but it doesn't provide the depth. or the warmth that I need to make this as clean as possible, as easily read as possible, right? And so you want to choose a color that your audience can easily see and that provides good contrast with the background, right? Diagrams and charts, you'll find when you review this that there aren't any in this presentation. It wasn't that kind of presentation, right? But for those of you who are presenting numbers and statistics and data related to your organization, you may well include diagrams and charts. Remember that the purpose of those things is to simplify your information, not make it too complicated, not make it even more difficult for your audience to understand. So keep them simple and make sure they're clear and have a clear explanation of what the symbols mean, all right, so that your audience can follow along. And then the key is keep rehearsing, all right? I don't know how many times you went over your video presentations to make sure that the content met the objectives and that you felt comfortable in it. You appeared confident in your presentations. We're going to look at some more in a minute, but the importance of practice cannot be overstated because it's through practicing that you see how your presentation measures up in terms of time. You figure out if there are any weaknesses, things that need to be eliminated, information that's not relevant or information that is relevant but has been left out, all right? And you get more comfortable with your content the more you practice. And so the importance of practice cannot be overestimated. And then delivery, enthusiasm. And so a portion of the rubric that I distributed for your video assignments dealt with delivery and the points awarded for delivery in your video in context assignments. And that is because the content of a presentation is very important, but you could have amazing content, A quality content. And if your delivery is a D or an F, that's gonna impact your grade negatively, right? And so delivery is just as important as the content because it is your energy that your audience is going to feed off. And so if you're not engaged, they're not going to be engaged either. And they're not going to benefit from your presentation. And so because they are the focus, you want to deliver your content in a way that is engaging. That involves not being monotone in the voice that you use, using gestures appropriately, but not in a distracting way. And then interact with your audience. So if you are delivering a presentation and you see people looking back at you and they're confused, ask questions of your audience. Or if you see them looking bored, try to stimulate them in some way. Make your presentation more interactive as possible. If possible at that point, ask them questions to get them involved or engaged. And one of the most important things is to maintain eye contact as much as possible. So don't be tied to your notes. Refer to them because this was a 23 slide presentation. There's no way to really memorize all this information. So of course you are going to refer to your notes in a longer presentation, but remember that you're doing just that, which is referring. You're not reading from them, and you're not glued to your notes as you present. You glance at them to find your place, and then you speak extemporaneously as far as possible. One of the most difficult parts of any presentation is the questions. Why is it difficult? Because you can't really prepare for questions. You don't necessarily know what your audience is going to ask, and that can be intimidating and worrisome. And so because that is the part of the presentation that we can't necessarily control, we kind of shy away from it, right? Or we resent audience members that ask difficult questions. But the questions illustrate that people were actually paying attention to you. One of the dreaded things of any teacher, especially in an online platform, is at the end of a lecture when you ask, are there any questions, and you met with dead silence. Because most teachers will tell you that doesn't mean everyone understood what you said. It more often than not means people were barely listening to what you said and they were disengaged, right? And so that's what you want to avoid. You want to invite questions and see the benefit of them. They allow you to engage with your audience, and it signals that they were actually listening to you, right? And interested in what you had to say. As you are answering questions, maintain eye contact with the person who's posing the question. Follow up at the end of it. Did that answer your question? Do you have any additional questions? If you are unable to answer a question, don't be afraid to say, I don't really know the answer to that. Well, I might have to do more research on that. That happens all the time. You're not expected to be the guru in the room with 100% or 150% of the information. That's not possible all the time. There will be things that you cannot plan for, but the key is, how do you communicate with your audience? It needs to be done in a respectful way, in a way that's not hostile, either from the audience or from you. And even if they are hostile, even if you regard the question or comment as rude, you maintain your professionalism and your poise, right? In making this presentation, because ultimately, remember that it's a reflection of you, right? And whatever body or organization has asked you to put this presentation together, or whatever goal it was that you set in delivering this presentation, right? So that is, in a nutshell, what this presentation details. Of course, you're gonna have to go through it when you have time. This isn't necessarily going to be on your final exam. You're not gonna have to put together a presentation for final. Next week, we're gonna use the Dealing with Donnie exercises as a review for the final. And so at the end of class next week, you'll get a pretty good idea of what it is that you'll be required to do when you sit your final exam on December 15th. And on December 8th, the week before final, we're not going to have a group meeting per se, but I want to meet with you individually to discuss your grade going into final, and some things that you may need to work on or pay attention to. So that's what we have planned for the next 2 weeks. We're going to do our review next week, and in the following week, we'll have individual meetings. Okay? Remember what I said, your final is December 15th. It's not a virtual final. You will actually have to go to the BIF's office to take your final exam. Okay, I'm going to provide more details next week about the final when we do our review, but bear in mind, it's not virtual, so you want to block off that time on the 15th in the evening from 6 to 9 to take your final exam. Okay? Okay, are there any questions for me before we get into the videos? Any
No,
questions?
ma'am. Pretty
Sorry,
straightforward.
Denise?
That was
Okay.
straightforward.
Okay, good. And I expect that this is something, or these are things that most of you know, right? One thing about this course and the information that it presents, it's very practical, but because you are in the field, a lot of you are practicing these things already, right? Okay. Let me just log out of this. Please remind me of the members in group 2. Is that Janice? Janice, who's your partner?
Natasha.
Janice and Natasha. And group 3?
Ronique and Felicia.
Felicia and Branique?
Yeah.
Okay, and Helga and
Kanishka.
Tanishka are in group 4. Okay. Perfect. Just a second, I'm trying to access your assignments folder. There we go. Okay. Come on. Please bear with me as I navigate this screen. Okay, there we go. Now, some of the videos take a minute to load. So this is another reason for the delay. It wasn't responding to me at first. Still not responding. Okay, there we go. Let me share my screen with you. Now we're gonna do this a little bit different than we did last week. You may find that I stop during the screening, during the video, to invite comments from you as opposed to watching it in its entirety. I hope you're not distracted by that. And if you see me looking down and typing, it's because I'm taking notes to give the students a grade.
Good afternoon, Ms. Augusta.
So can everyone hear and see?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great.
My name is Janice Rowe. I am the recruitment manager here at Fidelity Bank, and I wish to welcome you to this Zoom interview.
Just for the benefit of the entire class, Janice, can you or your partner summarize the objective of your assignment, please?
Okay, you're a prospective employee being interviewed for a job. So I am the interviewer, and Natasha is the interviewee.
Okay, all right, great.
Good afternoon, Ms. Rose. Thank you for the opportunity. And how are you today?
I am doing well, thank you.
That's
All
good.
right, so we'll just get started. The position that you're interviewing for is the collections manager at our collection center. And so I'll just give you an overview of what the responsibilities are for that particular position.
Okay.
And so as a collections manager, you will be required to provide leadership for a team of 5 persons. Each one of those persons have been assigned quarterly and monthly targets, and your job is to ensure that those targets are met at the end of each quarter, as well as at the end of each month. Overall, the collections team is responsible for ensuring that the delinquency ratios does not exceed 4%, and that's 4% at the end of each quarter. The main objective as well for that particular role is you are to ensure that restructuring of past due loans and mortgages, that they are addressed and that they are completed in a timely manner. And so that's just the summary of what the collections manager is responsible for. Okay.
Yes.
And so I note in your job description that you're currently employed at Bank of Nova Scotia in the collections area. And so you probably have some experience in this particular area, but we'll elaborate a little bit more as we get into the questions. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So tell me a little about yourself, Ms. Augustine.
Okay. So outside of my work life, I usually volunteer within our community center, assisting teenage females with grooming them and maturing them, helping with grooming them. for them to become mature, respectful, responsible adults and to prepare them for the work field.
Okay, all right. So what has been your greatest accomplishment thus far?
Okay, my most recent greatest accomplishment was completing the Credit and Collection Stage 2 course at Bahamas Institute of Financial Services.
So I'm sure this has helped you greatly in your current role as a collections representative.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna stop at the 3-minute mark. I'm seeing some positive strategies so far. What is good about the interview thus far? It's good that she, go ahead.
It seems very authentic. It's not rehearsed.
Mhm,
It doesn't seem rehearsed.
mhm,
And the energy level is very positive.
good.
Mhm.
It's good that she began with review of the responsibilities of the role as well, right? Natasha seems authentically nervous. I don't know if that's the video or she's really into this role. That's good. But they're both really professionally dressed as well. So that's a plus.
That was real nervousness.
That's real nervousness. Okay. It's the video is being on camera.
So why do you want to leave your present employer?
Okay, at this current time, I'm a contractual worker, so I'm seeking stability and also to challenge myself a bit more.
So based on the responsibilities that I've just outlined in the job description, why do you feel that you're a fit for this particular job?
Okay, I feel that I'm a perfect fit because with my skills and my experience, that's the role I'm in now. And the requirements that you're asking of me is something that I do on a daily now, meeting targets, reducing delinquency, reaching out to customers, finding out what's the cause of the delinquency, how best we can assist them based on any financial situations they have encountered.
Okay. So tell me about a time when you saw a problem and you took the initiative to solve it.
Okay, there was a time, okay, we usually get the delinquency report just about every month. A new report is issued. So we were working on the report, and however, the delinquency ratio wasn't being decreased as much. So I thought to myself, how is it that every day we're working this report, where I'm reaching out to the customers, we're getting right body contact, but how is it that the numbers don't seem to be decreasing significantly? Then I looked at the report and I noticed like the days past due. So I was like, okay, maybe if we focus on the highest days past due first, maybe we can get the delinquency to decrease significantly. And then after working on the highest days past due, you could probably look at the higher balances, work on those ones, and leave the smaller balances and the ones that have just came on the delinquency report. You could leave them for like the latter part of the month, but at the beginning of the month to focus on the higher balances and the higher days past due. And by doing that, we did see change in the report.
Okay, awesome. So based on this role, the role as a collections manager, the team is responsible for ensuring, one, loans that are delinquent, that they are brought up to date, or in some instances, if a customer cannot bring those loans up to date, is out of a job, they're unable to make the payments, then of course, they're in some instances, we have to move to foreclosure. And so as a result of that, you would find you would end up with a number of disgruntled clients because of course, who wants to lose their home?
Right.
So my question to you is, how do you handle a disgruntled client, a client who may have not moved into as a result, we may not have moved into the foreclosure stage, but they found themselves in a position where they're not currently working, and you as a collector, your job is to continue to call to make sure that you get some sort of payment to kind of reduce the balance or to keep the loan within a 90-day period. And so of course the customer's frustrated, you're trying to get those funds in so that those loans don't fall into that 90-day bucket. And so with the client being frustrated, at some point they tend to get disgruntled. And so how do you handle a customer who is disgruntled because of course at the end of the day they cannot find the payment to satisfy this debt?
Okay, within a situation like that, in the pandemic, many persons were unemployed, but however, they were receiving the NIB benefits. So I wouldn't ask for the full the NIB contribution benefit, but I would make a suggestion that whenever they get the payout, to just put a little something towards the arrears to decrease it, to minimize it from increasing in amount. You don't have to pay the full amount because you're unemployed, unfortunately. But if you continue to make partial payments, at least you're showing that you're not neglecting your obligation. You're still trying to make ends meet. So any event that you were to go to foreclosure stage, it would show that you did not neglect your obligation. It's just that you didn't have an income. It was beyond your control.
So you found that this approach has worked in ensuring that customers don't become overly aggressive or disgruntled, and as a result go to the media and lodge a complaint to the bank. Do you find that this approach has helped in this regard?
Yeah, some customers, when you explain to them the partial payment as opposed to full payment, they felt a little bit of a relief. Because now here it is, you're not asking them for the full amount. You're asking them to make partial payments to decrease this amount. So they felt a little bit at ease and they were cooperative. So every time they receive a little bit of assistance, they make a payment towards the arrears.
Okay.
Okay, tell me why Janet asked the question twice. Why do you think she asked the question twice? How do you deal with a disgruntled or difficult customer?
Janet trying to trick her.
No.
No, I just clowning. No, I mean, sometimes I think they do that because trust me, I've been on quite a bit of interview and I've noticed that too. So I think they do that. Sometimes it's to get you to open up more, maybe to expand more on whatever point you're making. Sometimes I guess they feel that maybe you don't really understand the question,
Mhm.
or I mean, it could be.
She didn't really answer the question. I think Janice was asking her, when you were faced with a difficult or disgruntled client, what do you do? And her answer was, I suggest that they make a partial payment, versus full payment. I think, and I might be wrong, Janice, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think you were asking, when you are with someone difficult, what do you do? And I think you maybe wanted a response more like, well, how do you show empathy for the client, or how do you calm down a difficult situation? Maybe along those lines. She provided some strategies that showed a client-centered focus, trying to help and offer suggestions, practical suggestions for how the client can still meet their obligation, or at least partially meet the obligation, so that their financial record or their payment record does not look so bad, at the end of the day. What did you two think as you were putting this presentation together? What was your impression of the response at this point, Janet and Janice and Natasha? What were you thinking as you were replying?
You're asking me
Yes.
the reply about the response?
Yes.
for me, it was two-part, but I didn't want to badger Tasha too much, and I think I did. Because even sitting listening to it again, I'm like, gee, Janice, why you keep asking all of these questions and asking the same questions in a different way? I think when we went over it initially,
Mhm.
and the initial response that I got from Tasha was okay. I think when we actually did it though, I think I was overemphasizing
Okay.
the point. But the her initial response was what I had accepted initially.
Oh,
But
when you did the interview and then you
yes,
came back and okay.
yes,
When you
yes,
did the practice,
right.
Natasha?
Yes, I missed the part to say
Yeah,
listen, and then provide feedback.
empathize. Yes, empathize with the client. Because let's be real, how many people were concerned about paying Scotia or Fidelity? I don't even know if Fidelity does mortgages or RBC
Mhm.
without a job in the pandemic. People were trying to eat and feed their children. I can't imagine the financial situation in so many Bahamian houses. I just know it was a difficult time. So it really requires empathy, right? At a time like we experienced last year. Okay, so far so good, ladies. Let's pick up where we left off.
Then my final question for you, Ms. Augustine, I want you to tell me about a time you worked as a part of a team that did not function well. What did you do about it?
Mhm. Working part of a team that didn't function well. Okay. Usually when problems like that arise when you're working part of a team and you seem to have challenges or difficulties, then you try to get to the root of the problem to find out exactly what's going on, and then we all put our ideas together because my way mightn't be as efficient as my co-worker's way. So once we discuss the problem and we come together and we put our ideas together, then we come to a common solution to solve the problem. Can I interject right there?
Sure.
Okay, that one that was like almost a top of the head answer because I didn't really have a scenario.
You weren't expecting the question.
I was, but that's a question I was trying to find like a scenario to put to
Uh-huh.
it,
Uh-huh.
but nothing came to mind. So that one was off top of the head answer.
Okay.
And
So
I think
aside,
I
Mhm.
think for me, I think even doing this, I think I had switched into reality mode. Um, so as I'm looking at it now, I'm like, okay, Janice, this is not for real. And so there were certain points during the interview where I realized I took this for real.
like you really interviewed her
Yeah,
for a job.
yes. Sorry,
Yeah.
Tash.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay, do you have any questions for me, Ms. Augustine?
Yes, Ms. Roll. What are your expectations of your new employees?
Okay, here at Fidelity, one of the things that we pride ourselves in is having an excellent training program. And so we're looking for persons who do not have an issue being stretched in that learning more than just the particular job function that they have been assigned to. In addition to that, we're looking at persons who are reliable, who are dependable, who are going to show up every day. Well, of course, in instances where they can't, if they're ill or having a challenge on that particular day. But for the most part, we're looking for persons who are going to be there every day and ensuring that the workload is being addressed, and to ensure that they are contributing to the growth of the bank.
Okay, that's good. What are the organization's plans for the future?
Well, as you would note, the COVID-19 virus has thrust all of us, companies, individuals alike, have thrust us into this environment where we're doing a lot of things digitally. Even this interview, because of the virus, we have to resort to a Zoom platform. So one of the things that we are focusing our attention on come 2022 is digitalizing most of our processes, making sure that processes are no longer manual, they're automated, and then allowing a lot of our employees to work in a remote environment as opposed to having to be in the face-to-face environment. And so that's one of the main things that we're looking to accomplish in 2022, pushing our customers into that digital platform and then allowing our employees, those that can work remotely, to work in that remote environment.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So if there be no more questions, I want to thank you so much for joining me via Zoom. Thank you for the conversation and for allowing me to get to know you a little bit better. And so I wish you all the best. And definitely at some point you will hear from our HR manager who will respond to you accordingly.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rule, for the opportunity. I hope to hear from you guys pretty soon. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Enjoy.
Okay, ladies, you all took that assignment and ran with it. Any comments or questions for Janice and Natasha?
Excellent job.
That
Yeah.
was
job.
Good.
excellent.
Perfect.
That was very good.
You
Excellent.
did an
It was good.
excellent job. Let's give them a hand.
Yes,
Janice,
excellent.
would you have hired her?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Awesome job, ladies. So it
Mhm.
was professional, well thought out. The questions from both of you gave that feel of authenticity that one of the students mentioned earlier. We felt like we really were on an interview. Excellent job.
Excellent.
Okay, so
I'm
let's
kind of
look
scared now.
at, huh?
I'm kind of scared now.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. No, but it's not necessarily a competition. I understand that, we have things going on and people have varying interpretations of the assignment and various approaches, and you bring your experience to it. So it doesn't have to be perfect to be good. I appreciate the effort that everyone puts forth. Let me stop this share. And I'm going to pull up Group 3's video. Group 3 is, Tanishka is Group 4. Group 3. Kira, is this the video that you sent me? You're in Group 3? Felicia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. One second. Okay. So this one is a little temperamental. First it says something went wrong and then it plays. So I'm not sure why it does that. Let me share my screen with you. Okay. It was playing fine when I did the demo. One second, let me stop the share and try to troubleshoot what's going on with the video. Okay, there we go. I see it. I have to start playing it before I share it because this um, control panel hides the play button. So that's the problem.
Thank you.
Remind us of the
I got your email.
assignment, please.
Yesterday, I got your email yesterday on the issues that you have been experiencing. Can you
Second. Sorry. Remind us of the objectives for your assignment, please.
Okay, good night, everyone. Good
Sorry?
night.
Okay.
Oh, I thought I thought somebody else was talking. So the objective was being an employee being treated unfairly by a supervisor, and it
Okay.
escalated to management.
Okay. So Felicia and your partner is
Veronique.
Veronique. I have not seen some of you for the semester. Isn't this interesting? This is the first time.
You've seen me many times in class, though. I haven't missed class.
No, I don't mean you've been absent. I mean, I haven't seen your faces. Yeah, no, I don't mean you've been absent.
Thank you for this meeting. Thank you for staying with me. So I
Oh,
Yes.
you to basically inform you about the unfair treatment that I've been getting from my supervisor, Ms. Taylor. Let's go back to August 8th. This has been happening for quite some time. We had our service team meeting, in our monthly service team meeting, and you know, this time we do reward and recognitions. We talk about what's going well, what's not going so well. And you know, during that time, we are constantly reminded that we're family and not just colleagues.
Right.
So Ms. Taylor opened the floor and she asked the employees to give our honest feedback about her work ethics. She wanted to know how she can better support her direct reports. So I used that time to express the lack of empathy and colleague care that I've received during such a vulnerable time in my life. See, I had asked Ms. Taylor to put me on a set, well, not a set, well, to put me on a lunch break for 4 o'clock for 1 week, just
Right.
1 week. I didn't want it permanent. I just needed to get some things in order. I needed to take lunch at 4 for 1 week to pick my kids up from school. But she automatically declined. She didn't ask why, nothing. She just said no. So one particular day, I took lunch at 3. My kids get out at 3 o'clock. I took lunch at 3 p.m. Picked up my kids from school, fight that 3 o'clock traffic to get them home, get back to work. So by the time I got back to work, I was 5 minutes late. Miss Taylor blew off the handle. She was very upset about it, and she gave me a written warning, placed it on my employee file. You know, that's our records.
Right.
So I was a bit disappointed by that because, yes, I know we have an hour for lunch, but 5 minutes, and given the fact that I had asked to, you know, take my lunch at 4.
Right.
So since then, I sensed that she was still upset about the situation. She then gave me this lengthy dignity report that I'm to complete by the end of day every day, along with completing my daily tasks that's mandated by myself. And when I don't complete this task, I'm constantly being publicly compared to my other colleagues.
Right.
How come they can do it and you can't? But I'm thinking to myself, because they don't have this lengthy report to complete, you know?
Right.
So with all of that going on, I realized that, you know, the staff are placed on
Like
a
we did the last
rotating
ones,
lunch schedule,
because the
different
control
times,
panels
different
can do
things you
it.
go to lunch.
Right.
But I'm placed on a permanent time for 11 a.m., making it impossible for me to leave to even try to pick up my kids from school. And I asked about it, and you know, nothing happened since then. So separate and apart from that, I realized that
I was also placed on a set time for lockup to lock up the branch. This is another schedule that is rotated, but I'm constantly on it to lock up with another employee. So this results in me leaving work 5:30, 5:45. So could you imagine? My kids are in the schoolyard from 3 until probably 6 because it's going to take me some time to get to them. So I'm thinking to myself, this isn't even helping me to be effective with my work because I'm at work, but my mind is where my kids is in the schoolyard. So I brought it to Miss Taylor's attention to ask, how can I fix this? I need to at least be able to pick them up, and even if I have to bring them back to meet with me. And thank you.
I have to stop. I'm sorry, I have to stop it. Okay, so there are some good things going on in this video. It's a lot of effort to stop, but we'll get back to the sharing screen in a minute. What is good about this presentation so far? Now, which one is Branique? Branique is
I'm
the,
the one. No, Fanika is the
you're the
one with,
parent.
with being on treated right.
Okay, all right. So what is good about this presentation so far? That's, oh, it's so odd that I don't know my students on site. This virtual learning is very, very not good. What's good about the presentation?
Bernice is able to, she's able to give specific dates and time and episodes where events happen.
Very detailed.
Yeah, and well, she's also uh let me say,
Articulate.
yeah, we all know that, but she's also keeping it, even though it seems as if she's keeping it professional still
Yeah.
with all the issues going on. It seems
Yeah.
as if she's keeping the work professional.
Yes. So this is good. We are drawn into her situation. She's upset, but not angry and irate. She's still respectful and professional. Felicia is doing something as well that is quite effective.
She's looking at her.
She's
She has
looking
good
at
She
her.
eye
has an
contact.
undivided
She's
attention.
listening.
Yes.
She's
Mhm.
listening very
Right.
attentively, not interrupting her. She's nodding. She's getting some signals. I'm listening to you. But we get this, and then look at her body language. She seems open, and this is encouraging communication, right? So that is excellent. Let me share the screen again. I'm probably gonna stop again. It just means I have to interrupt the share to do it.
For 8 years, over 8 years, and I've given it my all, constantly going above and beyond. And anytime Miss Taylor needed my help with something, I was on it without question. And when I brought this to her attention, she basically told me, "Your personal problems is not my problem." And this isn't something that I asked what this is. This isn't something that's in my control that I can control. This is life. Life is happening right now. And it's just been very discouraging. And I've been with this company for such a long time, and I don't want this situation bring me to the place where I want to leave. This is why I'm here to fix this. But at this point, I don't know that I can go on further in such unhealthy environment. I'm drained. I'm burnt out. I'm to my wits' end, physically, mentally, and emotionally when it comes to work. I feel like a fish out of water when I have to come here. And it's all because I feel like I'm being reprimanded for something that's out of my control. Like I said, I tried reaching out to her, that didn't work. So this is why I'm here with you to see how best we can resolve this. I'm open to hearing any feedback, any coaching that I have to take on to make this situation work, but I just can't continue working in such environment. Right. I thank you for bringing this matter to my attention. Here at Core International, we that the issues that you mentioned does not align with our core principles and values. You mentioned that you have been experiencing problems at home. Can you go in detail, or would you like to go in detail on what you have been experiencing exactly? Sure. No, I don't mind sharing it with you. But I'm currently going through a divorce with my husband, and how it worked, I would do drop-offs in the morning and he would do school pickups. Right. Since everything transpired, he's refusing to pick up the kids from school. Right. So it's now on me to pick them up. Right. So during that particular week, it was fresh. It just happened. Right. So I just needed that week to get my life back stable, be able to pick them up, put something in place. I couldn't pop up on somebody else to tell them I need them to pick up my kids. You know, they're my responsibility. So I just needed 1 week to get my life back together. Everything had shattered. I just was trying to, get my bearings. And since then it's been shaky. Divorce is divorce is always messy. Right. So the constant battle of who's gonna have the kids and who's gonna get the house, like that alone is mentally taxing and draining to know that I'm going through that at home. Not to say that it has anything to do with the company, but this is what I'm experiencing. To know that I'm going through that at home and to come to work to be reprimanded for such petty issues and things that don't necessarily concern me, like this report, it's not mandated by me. I feel like I'm being punished for something that is out of my control. So yeah, that it's the divorce and taking on the full responsibility. I'm basically operating as a single mother right now, and just trying my best.
I'm so sorry to hear what you're going through, and I it's just baffling to me because I have kids also, so I understand exactly where you're coming from. I will have to investigate this issue further, and when I do that, in the meantime, you could fill out a complete report so the process can start. Also, you be reminded that we have a shuttle for school pickup at 3 o'clock every day for people who experience transportation issues, because these things always happen. And I don't know if you would be willing for us to pick up your child at 3:30, so you don't have to worry with such issues. I know how it feels because I have kids, and every day I be wondering, what time can I leave to pick up my kids? So I understand what you're saying. Right now, I will schedule a meeting between you and Miss Taylor so we can get a clear understanding of exactly what's been going on. So I'll meet him with you separately and her separately, and then we'll come together to discuss exactly what has been transpiring. I thank you for bringing this matter to my attention. And once this meeting has been held, hopefully we can come to a resolution, and I'll then again do a follow-up meeting to ensure that everything is on a better path. We are, like I say, on at Core International Bank, we take our employees matter seriously. So hopefully you get a resolution. We will get a resolution. Okay. I thank you for bringing this to my attention, and when this meeting is out, we can go from there. Any questions, any other concerns that you're willing to bring to my attention?
Not at this time. This matter itself is enough, and this is all my focus is on resolving it, because like I say, I don't want it to push me to the place where I leave. I rather try make an attempt to resolve it, because I do love working here. Right. But I don't see myself lasting much longer if it's not resolved.
I understand. And thank you for your time. You have been an awesome employee. But as soon as we have this meeting, we can come to a common ground. I thank you for bringing this matter to my attention again.
Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Okay, let me stop it. Escape. Okay, so comments or feedback for Bernice and Felicia? There were some concluding strategies that were quite good as well. What did you note at the end of that presentation? What was Felicia able to do in her capacity as manager?
She gave Bernice the comfort or the peace of mind knowing that she was going to actually investigate the situation and to see what would get to the root of the problem.
There's a timeline. She provides a detailed plan to resolve the issue. I need to investigate. I'm going to meet with your supervisor, and I'm going to meet with you. So there, she knows what action steps will be taken to resolve the issue, and she seems empathetic, but fair. We don't get the sense that one employee is necessarily going to be given unfair treatment because of any kind of partiality. So that was really good. The tone was professional. I just have one question. Where's this company that provides shuttle service for the children to pick up after school?
I can
Imagine, that would be voted best company in the Bahamas to work for.
But they do that though.
Really?
Yeah, at my daughter's school, they actually, it's not
The
a
school
work.
does it?
Yeah, the school does
Oh,
it.
yeah, the school. No,
So
I'm
the
saying the
school does it,
company. She
but the
says the
company, no.
company. But there's a school that does pickup.
Yeah, the school has a bus that actually picks up the kids in the morning.
Really? Where is this?
Queens College.
Oh, at QC. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and a lot of parents benefit from that. When I was a child in Grand Bahama, I actually got picked up by a yellow school bus.
Ah,
And that's how we moved from a settlement, one settlement to the next. I went to Mary Star. I would get picked up in the morning by a yellow school bus. My parents paid a fee, so they didn't have to make that drive. And that's how we did it. But there are no resources like that for parents, right? I don't know. I know that there was some busy bee, something like that, where a consumer, not a consumer, a private citizen provided shuttle service, picked up kids from different schools. I don't know how subscribed that was. Okay, excellent presentation, ladies. Any final comments before we get to presentation number 4? You've all handled the assignment quite well, I have to say. So you should be proud of yourselves. Tanishka and Helga is our final group. Remind us of your scenario, please, ladies.
The scenario is Tanishka, who is the employee, wants to resign the company where I'm the manager, and I'm just recently getting her resignation letter via email. So I request a meeting with her to
Okay.
discuss the gist of this resignation letter.
Okay, awesome. So let me try to download your video. Now, I remember this being quite small. Let me try to expand it. I think that might be as big as it's gonna get, ladies.
Hi, Mishka. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Can you hear this?
I called you here this morning in this meeting. I can hear it. Well,
Yeah,
it's
we
because
can
I
hear
know
it
it.
just a little low, but we can hear it.
And my speaker's at 100,
I must say
so.
it came as a shock because
1 second, let me
I
stop
really
this
was
share. Let me try to play with
anticipating,
this some more to see if I could get this bigger. Stop. My volume. Yeah, that's at 100%. Full screen. Yeah, that's about as much as we could get with the full screen. I'm sorry, that's as loud as it can get. My volume controls are all at 100%. And so I'm sorry if you have to strain.
because I really was anticipating you to be here a little while longer because you're such a valuable asset to the company, especially my department. You know, I'm looking over just some of what you contributed over the past year, and I see where you always hit target, you always came to work on time, and you were able to present us with so many innovative ideas to propel the company forward. So it is bittersweet when I saw the resignation letter, and I have to ask what was the reason or the driving force behind you wanting to resign from the company?
Well, I'd like to start off by thanking you for noting my contributions. I would say one of the main reasons why I handed in my resignation letter is flexibility.
Okay.
You know, as a young mother, I feel as though it's like thugging, you know, when I try to get time off, you know, especially for my baby, like I said, to go to the doctor, you know, and I really feel like it shouldn't be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And also another reason is for pay. I was offered a higher salary,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I have things I want to do and accomplish.
Well, I understand that. that. Those are very good reasons as to why anybody would want to move on. And it's funny that you mentioned flexibility because we were working. It is something that I had brought to the executive team.
Okay.
To have more flexible hours because I'm a mother myself and it is very difficult. And we want to make sure that we keep our brightest stars on board, and you are one of our brightest stars. And to lose you based on flexibility, based on income, I think the company would be not put itself in a good position if we were to allow employees to walk out of the door for something that we can bring resolution to. So when you say flexibility, if we were able to work with your schedule and also match the income, what's been offered to you by the other company, and may I ask, is it one of our competitors?
I don't have that liberty to say right now.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah.
But if we were
Okay, so let me stop it for 1 second. What's good about this exchange thus far? Nothing? I see something.
She's genuinely trying to find out for the reason for her leaving.
Yes, and she begins with a list of positives. And so it starts the meeting, and this could be an uncomfortable meeting too, right? But it starts the meeting on the right foot because she's able to make the employee feel valued by detailing the contributions to the company. Now, Helga said, we'll work with your schedule. Let's see where this goes because that's a little bit broad, right? It wouldn't carte blanche say, let's work with your schedule, but maybe find out more about what the employee needs and see where you could reach some middle ground. Because what if she wants to come in at 11 and leave at 4? All right, that wouldn't serve the company either. So let's see.
Would you consider staying?
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
It's not a definite answer because it was something that I brought to my immediate supervisor several times, and not to create any problems, but I felt as if no resolution was made on my behalf for something so relatable.
Right.
So that's why I would say yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to go on record by saying that this is the first time that I.
What do you mean yes and no, Tanishka?
Meaning that if her being the higher up could give me a better answer, I would consider yes. And I said no because when I brought it to my immediate supervisor, she wasn't empathetic to the fact. She just made me feel as if it was all work. So that's why I
Okay.
said no.
So you'd be willing to stay because of the way Helga receives this information, the way she treats you.
Yes.
But okay.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that the flexibility was an issue for yourself. It was never brought to my attention, and it is something that I'm greatly concerned about because it is something that we are working on. If we are able to work on that and be able to work out the kinks, the miscommunication in between, would you consider staying?
I would, but perhaps to another location.
In another department?
Yeah.
Is there another department that you are eyeing?
Compliance.
Compliance?
Yeah, compliance. So if it were something that that allows for my growth, I think I would take it. I would take it on certain conditions.
Okay.
Yeah, certain other conditions.
Okay.
Can
How
I
about-
elaborate? Am I
Yes,
able to
yes, please
elaborate?
do.
Conditions like, can I negotiate my salary? Like, I think that's the a main driving force because, like mentioned in the letter and earlier in our conversation, it's more money they're offering me.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys are able to match that, and I hope I'm not coming off, too abrasive, to say the least, I'll consider staying.
Okay. No, you're not coming off abrasive. You remind me much of myself.
Okay.
When I was younger,
Mhm.
and wanting more. And I have a high appreciation for employees that actually want more. You're not satisfied by staying in the same spot. You want to grow with the company.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is the driving force behind the success of this company. What I would like to do, Nishka, is I don't want you to make the decision now. What I do want is for me to take the information that you've given me and let me meet with my executive team and let's come up with a solution that can not only be satisfactory to you but also satisfactory to the company because like I said, you are one of our shining stars and we don't want to lose you. There's a saying, you know what you have, you don't know what you're gonna get. And we know that you are an excellent worker. And I do see more for you here at the company. I see you in a managerial position very, very soon. So if you would allow me to go back to my executive team, let's come up with a solution. And how about we meet at the end of this week to go over the solution and then we can negotiate from there. If you would please give us this opportunity.
I can, and like you said, by the end of this week, do you have a date per se that I can expect you? Because, I just wanna tie up some loose ends and
I would say give us until Thursday afternoon.
Thursday afternoon. Okay, that can work.
Well, thank you so much. I really thank you for being understanding and also having patience. And once again, I do apologize that your concerns, that they fell on deaf ears, but I assure you that we are going to come up with a better way of communication, not just for you, but the other employees here
Thank
at the
you.
company.
And I'd like to thank you, Ms. Davis, for, allowing me this opportunity not only to speak to you, but the many accomplishments I've made with this organization, the many assistance for seeking education, tertiary education you guys paid for. So I will be looking forward to hearing and seeing what you and the executive team come up with.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. Did I stop it too soon?
No.
Okay,
No.
all right. So what feedback would you like to offer for Helga and Tanishka? Would any company beg you to stay like this?
I mean, I did it. To take out the honest with you, that video right there was recorded actually in Scotia. We were
Uh-huh.
at Starbucks first, and nobody wanted to record us, and it was already night. And it
Oh
was like, we
boy.
have to get this video done. So we just
Oh
walked across the
boy.
parking lot to wealth management, and I still
Uh-huh.
had my key to get in the building. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, okay, let's,
Let me help you
go in
out.
here and record it. And everything you saw there, it was not rehearsed. Everything was because we wanted it to come off as authentic as possible. And
Wow.
and what I wanted to bring across was a lot of times you have excellent employees that are not given that opportunity to stay with a company, and the company let them walk out of the door. So the approach that I wanted to take was one that if you have a good employee and you see
Make them
potential
feel
in them,
validated.
right, make them feel appreciative and try to do
Mhm.
your best to make them stay with the company.
And that's smart because she reveals that she got assistance with tertiary education. This company is invested in her. And so it would not benefit the company to let her walk out the door after having invested in her. You're watching skills and knowledge and experience leave with her, and you ask the question, is she going to the competition? So these are things that you need to be concerned about. And I think you did an excellent job of making her feel heard. Tanishka was being hard. Tanishka was being really hard. I don't know. I have to see. Okay, but good job. Any other comments for Helga? or Tanishka or any of the ladies that had their video presentations tonight? Okay, I just have to say, give yourselves a round of applause. All of you, Denise and Edrika from last week, you all did an excellent job. This is by far one of my favorite classes. Excellent work.
Great job.
Yes, I'm
Thank you
gonna
so
put my
much.
comments together and send you your grades, and I'm also going to give you your resumes back. Okay, before Friday, so look for those assignments from me. And with that, we can end, ladies. Remember what I said about the plan for next week? We'll do the Donnie case book as a review for the final exam. So I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Have a good evening.
Okay,
Good
bye-bye,
night.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Tanishka, did you have a question for me?
I'm trying to leave.
You're
No,
trying
I'm trying to leave. One
Okay,
second.
okay.
I don't know what happened.
I cannot put you out of the meeting. If I put you out of the meeting, you will not be able to join any meeting for the remainder of the semester. So I don't know what device you're on. I'm gonna end the meeting, right? Instead of putting you out, I'll end it.